Hi, my name is Regina Nassa. I'm a Deputy County Attorney in the Pima County Attorney's Office in Tucson, Arizona. The ABA's Government and Public Sector Lawyers Division has very kindly invited me to spend 3 minutes talking to you today about legal writing. 3 minutes isn't much time, so I had to think pretty hard about what I wanted to talk about. I figured you don't need me standing here telling you to avoid legalese and passive voice. That's great advice for legal writing, but I'm sure you've heard it before. Instead, I decided to step back and talk about something that's really even more fundamental. And I'm going to talk today about persuasive writing, the type of writing that you would do in a motion or brief. And here's the deal. Clear writing follows from clear thinking. Too often I read arguments that do something sort of like what the figures in this Escher print do. They wander around. They seem to be going somewhere, up the stairs or down the stairs, but really they're just going around in a loop. They're not getting anywhere. And that's because the author really hasn't formulated to themselves exactly what their argument is. So they sort of loop around and they wander around, they're kind of repetitious, and they're not really drawing the connections that they need to in order to make a truly persuasive argument. Not very many lawyers have received training in formal logical principles, and I think that's unfortunate. So what I want to talk to you today about in the minute and a half I have remaining is that it's really, really important to break your argument down into its simplest components, into very, very basic terms, and build it back up using very simple, straightforward logical syllogisms, which are typically 3-sentence groupings of propositions. You want your final proposition to follow necessarily from the first two. If you're a fan of Brian Garner, and if you're passionate about legal writing, I assume you are, and you're familiar with his deep issue method of stating the issue, you're familiar with the categorical syllogism, because really that's how Brian has you state the issue. A general statement of the law, a statement about your particular case, and then a conclusion that is phrased as a question, but really is necessarily implied, necessarily follows from the first two propositions. That's a type of logical syllogism. But there are other ways that you can use formal logic and use that throughout your arguments. And you can use formal logic to test the validity of the arguments that you're making and the validity of your opponent's arguments. And when you can do that, it's a very, very powerful tool. I don't have time today to explain to you exactly how to create a syllogism. I don't have time to explain the rules of formal logic and how to apply them to test the validity of your arguments and your opponent's arguments. But I encourage you to look up some of those resources. I also do have a short cheat sheet that I'll ask the ABA to post along with this video. There's a great book out there called Logic for Lawyers by Judge Aldersert. I would encourage you to look at that as well. But really what I want to leave you with today is the idea that when you break your arguments down, when you're very, very clear about that argument, your writing is going to be so much better. Thanks for listening to me today, and I hope to talk to you again soon.